Okay, so behind me here is a mokom that, as I mentioned, it's hard to know who's buried where. There was so much destruction that happened at the time of the war, but they managed to recover many of the stones, and they brought them back here. And I want to mention just one tzaddik that we can mention specifically that we know is somewhere here. Anybody that's learned the Sefer HaYoshor, the Heilige HaYoshor, it's a gewaldige Sefer. In fact, Shimon and myself spent the last 3-4 years going through. We just finished Chelek Aleph. I just want to give you an idea who the HaYoshor was. He was a Rav in Poland, 1600s. He was born in 1650, through a very, very difficult time in Poland. His father, the Amudei Shmuel, was a big Rav in the 1600s, wrote Sforim on Kodshim, which was very unusual at that time, where people are generally writing practical halachas. Here he is writing Amudei Shmuel on Kodshim. And his father's name was Aaron Shmuel Kaidenova. The HaYoshor wrote Tzvi Hirsch, one of the Gedolim over here. He grew up with a father that was always constantly being beaten up by the local goyim, had his own Sforim burnt, and he remembers the massacres happening at the time. He marries a rich girl from Frankfurt, and at one point he gets to a fight with some of the rich people in the area, and he writes this in the Akdama to the HaYoshor. He was thrown into prison, into a Polish dungeon for 4 years. Eventually, when he gets out, he manages to go and leaves Frankfurt. It's interesting, by the way, how the Sefer HaYoshor came into being. He had a Rebbe. His Rebbe wrote a lot of Kabbalah, Sifrei Musa in Kabbalistic ways, but he died young and he never published the Sefer. The HaYoshor was a Talmud of him, and he had a copy of the manuscript, and he basically rewrote it, touching it up here, touching it up there, adding pieces from time to time, and he admits this. He writes this in the Akdama, and he published it as his own work called the HaYoshor, which took off in a tremendous way. So the original Sefer of his Rebbe's were never published until many, many decades later. Whoever heard of it? Yesod Yosef. Anybody heard of the Yesod Yosef? Rabbi Yosef of Minsk, Av Beistin of Minsk. He was the Zikr Rebbe. It's interesting how Sforim worked. The Talmud made the Rebbe's content more famous than the Rebbe did. He lived from 1650 to 1712, and at the time he lived in Germany, which was a safer place, but Poland at the time was very unsafe. Later, of course, it switched around. He had a very rich father-in-law. He had no problem with Parnassa at the time. And after his father died, he undertook the publishing of the Sforim, Amudei Shmuel, that's his father's Sforim, Birchas HaZevach, and Kodshim, and others as well. He was in his 50s when he published the HaYoshor. Be'ikah, as we said, from his Rebbe, published it 1705. And it's a very serious Musa. Anyone that learned the HaYoshor knows a lot of it is Zoya Kodesh, real Rizal's tremendous Musa. He calls it HaYoshor because Kav is 102 chapters. The Pri Megadim writes, this Sefer is the Refuah Sanefesh. The Rebbe of Melech writes the Noimani Melech, he learned it 102 times, as the Lashon of Kav 102. And the Rebbe of Melech, it should be Shogu B'Piv. The Chida always had a HaYoshor on his table. The Kozhetz Magid said that a person can have more Iris from the Zoya brought down in the HaYoshor than the Zoya itself. The Ksav Sofer said that a person has to learn HaYoshor. And he writes how he got to the Madrega of writing such a Sefer. And he quotes from Chazal that Moshe Rabbeinu davened 515 tefillahs to enter Eretz Yisrael. And the Rabbi Shem said, if you daven one more, you'll break the Gzeira. So too said the HaYoshor, I davened 515 tefillahs, Gematria Hirsch, that was his name, 102 Prokim Kav, and therefore I was Zoicha. Such a tremendous thing. I just want to read to you one thing that the HaYoshor writes at the end of Chelek Aleph in Perek Nun Beis. He brings down Shlomo HaMelech in Koheles Perek Zayin. Al titzadik harbe, ve'al tirsha harbe. And he brings that be very careful when you look at people who are Isaac in Tefillah and are Isaac with a talis and Tefillin all day. Be careful of those people. It doesn't necessarily mean anything about them, is how they dress. But he writes, you never know what's going on in a person's heart. But he writes one thing, and he says a person that does business be'emunah, a person that does business honestly, and he doesn't want to take money that's not his, he doesn't want to take something that's not his, that person, who ish tzaddik v'yosha b'vadai. Says the HaYoshor, persons who tefillin all day, talis all day, we have no idea what's going on in his heart. Maybe he's hacker, maybe he's a tzaddik, maybe he's not. But a yid that does business, and he's so careful not to take that which doesn't belong to him, and he's careful to do everything in business in the honest way, says the HaYoshor, that is the emes tzaddik. We should say at this time, excuse me, that we're surrounded by tzaddikim. We're surrounded by so many people, some of them we know, some of them we don't know. And it's specifically a time that every single person, and we looked at the names as we walked into the Beis Olam, names that we never heard of, names that we never knew, we'll never know. How many people remember who they are? But each and every one of them had their she'ifas, had their goals, had what they wanted to accomplish in this world. We have to believe be'emunah shlema that the Rabbi Shalom is going to be maksa all of these neshamas, and there's going to be a tchias hamesim. However difficult life challenges are and things that we go through, we have to recognize that we see these tzaddikim, it gives us a koyach to continue. Look what they had to go through. Look at the times that they went through. Look at what they witnessed. Look at what they had to do. And yet they still were from, they still had a shaykhs to the Rabbi Shalom. It gives us that emunah, that strong, real foundation of emunah, that connection to the Rabbi Shalom that every single one of us is looking for in our own lives. And b'schus, all of the tzaddikim that are here, all of the regular people that are here, if we can call them regular people, they went through such times, be'emunah shlema. And we should daven together at this time that the Rabbi Shalom will stop all of the tzoros, and all of Klal Yisrael will have Yeshuas, and all those that need brachas will get brachas, and all those that need shidduchim will get shidduchim, and those that need children will have children, and those that need parnasa, and those that need refuah, and those that need whatever it is that they daven for. We should daven be'emunah shlema that the Rabbi Shalom is going to bring the geula. There's going to be a Mashiach. We're waiting for it. We're really waiting for it. We believe in it. It's going to happen. It's been so long. All these neshamas that are here in this place are waiting for it as well. And we believe be'emunah shlema. Let's gather together and let's daven b'schus of the Rabbim. That be'ez Hashem, there should be a Yeshua.